Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. And yeah, the first video of the new patch, and we begin with a big problem. Quite literally, the IJN Hyuga, and this is the new end-of-the-line Japanese battleship. This is a super dreadnought because it has 6 twin 356 millimeters, aka 14-inch guns, centerline, 2 forward super firing, 2 aft super firing, and 2 in the middle super firing. So you actually can bring all 12 14-inch or 356 millimeter guns to one broadside, backed up by up to 20 140 millimeter secondaries and some mighty 6 7.72 millimeters Lewis machine guns. What Gaijin actually thought would come of this, I don't know. Whoever is responsible for implementing stuff in War Thunder and in which order, I have no idea. The facts are now following. This ship was not visible on the first and only dev server for this patch. The last patch was released just a month ago. And look what this Hyper class German cruiser now experiences. How it goes lower after hit by only, quote unquote, only the HE shells. He's sinking drastically after Gaijin has actually driven back the damage model for sinking. So you can see those are now the nastiest pure nose fuse high explosive shells in the game. So let's talk through this bit by bit. What is the rate of fire for those shells? Well, this is now 30 seconds for an ace crew. This is now more or less on par with also the buffed British battleships, which have now 13.3 seconds. Then we have pretty good firing angles. We have also, as I mentioned, the nastiest HE shell in the game, and also a decent AP shell. On paper it has the highest penetration, but more on this in just a moment. So the 356 millimeter high explosive shell, and yes, that is its actual name, has a muzzle velocity of 805 meters per second and has 68.64 kilograms of TNT equivalent, resulting in an HE penetration at any distance versus any angle where the fuse actually gets activated of 94 millimeters. That punches clean through even the belt armor of the majority of heavy cruisers, and this ship is battle rating 6.0, so that is now there with all the other pure dreadnoughts. Then we have also the 356 millimeter Type 3 APC armor piercing capped shell. It has a muzzle velocity of 770 meters per second and a TNT equivalent bursting charge of 13.31 kilograms and a penetration of 620 millimeters at point blank range, or 1000 meters, and at 10 kilometers even at 447 millimeters, putting nearly over 80 millimeters of penetration on top at 1000 meters on the previously best AP round, which was, surprisingly enough, the 11-inch shells from the Admiral Graf Spee. I will make a pure, statistical comparison once I played also the battle cruisers, and I'm aware to all the changes here and there that Gaijin made. Now, it's also a pretty fast battleship for the comparison, because its top speed is, believe it or not, fully upgraded 44 kilometers per hour. That's not cruiser levels of speed, but it's still there. And then there is the armor, and the armor is also pretty impressive. However, it's not as if it would be flawless, and in fact it is historically inaccurate, because we have also more or less an icebreaker. We have a lower and an upper belt. Let's begin with the barbettes. 203 millimeters of rolled cemented armor. The turret faces and the upper part of the barbette is 305mm, so 12 inches, also rolled cemented armor. Then the casemates are 80mm, and yeah, underwater we have the usual coal bunker protection. However, there seems to be something bloody wrong with this ship. So now let's have a quick look in port at this otherwise beautiful ship, and let's have a look at the armor. And well, there are some coal bunkers, and above this is the main armor belt, or usually it should be, because on this ship it's 102mm. This ship is not meant to be a battle cruiser, it's meant to be a battleship. So it should be equipped with armor to take on hits at normal battle ranges from other battleships of that time period. 4 inches or 102mm of rolled cemented armor just is not what the ship had. In fact, as far as I can tell, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this upper belt of 305mm, so 3 times that, is the upper belt, but that should be the main belt thickness. So this is at best heavy cruiser armor, this is true battleship grade armor. They just switched places. A further look is when you then have a look at the barbettes of 8 inches and the turret faces and the upper barbettes of equally 12 inches. It makes no sense. We didn't have the opportunity to have a look at the ship in port on the dev server. There was no mentioning of it in the preliminary dev server notes, and we only had one dev server, so there was never a chance for anybody to have a look at the ship and point that mistake out. Oh, Gaijin. So within a month, all the other battleships in the game have been power creeped extremely badly. The only ship that really can hold up to this in terms of, returning back the favor is the Imperatrice Maria, which itself is the king of the previous battleships when it comes to the raw firepower. And I don't think that this is the way that the game should be designed. Also, the American battleship, of which there is only one, also doesn't have any form of high explosive. No nose fuse high explosive, no base fuse high explosive, no sap, and the AP also seems to be pretty trash. And that has quote unquote only 10 12-inch guns. What about the German battleships? Well, they still have the rate of fire advantage and they are still pretty tanky. But I have here some footage in just a moment where I will sink a battleship by drowning it by only shooting at it with AP. Now, this ship could be even worse in the current meta if it would have any sort of sap ammunition or base fuse high explosive shells. That was the first salvo at this cruiser that couldn't even make a full turn, and I hit him with ease at nearly 14 kilometers. I know how to aim and how to shoot, and look at him, how he sinks. This is visible. The damage is visible, not just the fire but also the sinking at 13-14 kilometers. And nothing has been changed about the game modes. Patrol boats in actual domination are still the deciding factor. And another thing that I really want to point out are here the repair costs. This ship got introduced with repair costs of a mere 16,000 silver lines. Now you might think, wow, that's expensive. But 16,000 is something where you could say, yeah, if you have a good game and you don't die, and then the next game you then die, it doesn't really matter, even with a non-premium account. That is cool, right? However, just a few days ago, all the other battleships' repair costs got drastically increased because of, Gaijin now coming up with some, economy data on those ships, and unsurprisingly, they went berserk. The worst of the battleships, which funnily enough is also in the Japanese tech tree, which is the IJN Ikoma, has 19,000 silver line repair costs. That's the cheapest one, and that has significantly less armor, secondaries, and the main firepower is just extremely bad. Even you could fight, in theory, even 3 IJN Ikomas and still have the upper hand here in the IJN Hyuga. Hyuga. Now, Gaijin screwed up, we know all this, but what about the German battleships repair cost? As an instance, the SMS Westfalen, the one with the 11-inch guns, has now 45,000 civil lines repair cost. The Helgoland, 40,000. The Soviet Imperial, or the Russian Imperatrica Maria, 38,000. The Poltava, 37,500. Hell, even the American battleship has 33.8 thousand, and even the British, the HMS Colossus, has 36.5, and the HMS Dreadnought herself, 35,000 civil line repair costs. It makes no sense from a balance perspective or an economy point of view to introduce this battleship if you would go this way with only 16,000 civil line repair costs fully upgraded. Now, I personally don't think that any of the cruisers would really care if I have 20 or 60,000 civil lines repair cost, because they have no fighting chance. But it doesn't matter, because the revenge bombing is still a thing. The other stuff, like that we have long queue times, that half of the teams are bots, they are also a thing. Gaijin continuously ruins this game mode. And that's before we mention that Italy doesn't have a Dreadnought at all, but it doesn't matter, because now at least you can buy the premium cruiser, which has to fight this thing all the time. So you get one blapped, or one tapped, whatever you want to call it, all the time. Naval Forces at top tier is a bad meme, a sad meme. And I found my pleasure in playing this game mode by not really giving a shit about it and just kind of abusing it, because you can't take this thing serious at this point in time. That's just how sad it is. Because just imagine you went berserk on the grind through the cruisers, fighting battleships with your premium cruiser, and eventually you got a Dreadnought, you know, be it, let's say, the British one. Let's say it's a German one, or the Soviet or Russian one, whatever. And then, after weeks of grinding, you got it, because you can't spend 10 hours a day playing War Thunder Naval Forces to grind, right? So then you finally have it, and then the repair costs go berserk, and then you're not competitive anymore, because you fight this thing. And the only way that you can defeat it is to rely on Gaijin's lackluster quality control, because they switched the upper and the lower belt thickness up, which is just, I just can't anymore. It's so bad. There is no quality management. The dev server has screwed up. There was no second dev server. This is inexcusable. I am lost for words. I truly am. And, you know, the only thing that I can say about the ship, it's not really the ship's fault, but how it got implemented. And that is always down to Gaijin. But don't worry, because you always get balanced in this game, one way or another. And with that said, that's it for me today, sadly. And I will have a look at something else. This is just the very first impressions. It might have been a slight rant, but hey, I don't know what else to say about this rather than just present you the truth. That's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.